Good morning, good morning. Welcome to November the 11th, What's Up? This is basically where I don't look at this beforehand and I give you a rundown of the patch notes and the sort of what's coming up for Gears 5. Been trying to keep you up to date with all the Gears 5 news and everything that's been going on. And again, this is just another extension of that. So What's Up is effectively like their little patch notes, and I like to give a little bit of a rundown. Now, before we begin, let's lay some groundwork. We've got a couple rules on this channel, don't we? We've got one comment, one like. Everyone knows the rules because it just helps bring interaction, helps bring sort of new people into the channel. And when there's new people and there's new interaction, I get better ideas. Maybe we spread it to the community. It just creates a livelier, more fun channel with more discussion, because nobody wants to go on a channel where you can't discuss other topics with other people in the comments, right? So yeah, one comment, one like. Everyone knows the rules. Again, we do this blind. If you want to go one step further and you have enjoyed this month's content, I've created, I think, like 30 plus videos this month, and you think that I've deserved the support, you can go ahead and contribute to the support goal. There are ways to do it for free. A simple Twitch Prime is a free option, but really the main thing is if you want to follow, like, comment, subscribe. It just helps a bunch. Appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Tip to the hat to everyone that's been doing that. So let's get right into it. Just before we begin, actually, just remember, tomorrow will be a video where I discuss a few tweets and topics where I was chatting with developers. I was going to attach it to this video, but I think it probably should have a separate video so they don't get mixed up. So let's stop waffling and rambling. Let's get right into it. November 11th, What's Up? Going in one take. We're doing it live. Everyone knows the rules. All right. So just before I scroll, currently for me, Gears is improving. It's improving. It's getting a little bit better. And I always go into these things positively. And I think, okay, blow me away, TC. Like, I'm here, I'm a supporter of the game, I enjoy the game. Give me some sort of to cheer about, give me some excitement. So there's a couple of things on my mind, just to begin. I'd love to see the melee get changed. I'd love to see some new maps. I'd love to see some proper content added. And I'd like to see some general fluidity changes to sort of gameplay. Right now, you can add content, you can take away content, you can change content. But for me, content's become this like magic word of like title update 2, tour 2, operation 2. This content that's magically coming is going to save the game. I don't think it will. I think we need some really good core gameplay to get people excited to sign in. So I'm hoping for some of that, and I'll give you a rating out of 10 for this patch notes at the end. So here we go. What's up? Your weekly update on all the latest news, game updates, and more in Gears 5 and beyond. Here's what's up in this Gears this week. Melee tuning. Okay, ranked and matchmaking updates, versus playlist, escape, boost, weekly supply and store updates. Okay, we've got melee tuning. Here we go. So for me, before I read this, I'd like to see less lunge to no lunge, less sort of conal lock-on, and just a delay between shooting and meleeing. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, in response to community feedback this week, we will see a release of the new melee tuning to address the current meta in Gears 5. We caught up with Jamie McTaggart, gameplay design lead, to walk us through these changes. As one of our gameplay goals with Gears 5, it was to improve the baseline melee combat to the point where it becomes relevant, a reliable tool in the player's arsenal. Alright, let's just stop there. This is where it gets a bit confusing, right? Because Gears has always been this close quarters game, and everyone's been trying to finesse their own. By finesse, I mean improve and get better. They've always been trying to finesse their own sort of ability at playing close quarters, right? Whether it's been learning how to strafe in the old Gears 1 and mixing in the odd wall bounce, whether it was Gears 2 trying to sort of move a bit more smart because everybody was stronger and everything was more long range, whether it was Gears 3 getting you back to that old quicker movement style and the roadie run strafe, whether it was Gears 4 with like the hyper bouncing, or whether now it's Gears 5 with this single stick crazy movement. Whatever your personal choice of movement may be, it's always been I'm trying to land shots and dodge shots. You're like a boxer. You want to land shots, hit shots. That's what you want to do. Yet the devs initially said that they wanted to make melee combat, improve melee combat to the point where it becomes relevant. Now, how far do we take the word relevant? What does that imply? To me, relevant means it's always going to be there and it's always going to be a viable choice. I don't think meleeing should be. So I think they hit the mark wrong there. So let's see what they say, because I've just picked it up there on a scanned. Clearly each game mode demands different interpretations of what reliable means. Okay, for PvP we kept it very straightforward and stripped away the new PvE combat systems to allow for a single powerful attack in almost every other Gears of War. We then focused on the consistency of connecting with a target. See, I disagree. I don't think the current melee is a single powerful attack. If you melee, press A and slide and melee, you can just start meleeing people. I've actually, like I said, there's a clip on my YouTube channel somewhere in that gameplay video. I got almost a Quinn with only melee, and a Quinn kill with only melee, and that's just ridiculous. Now, there's no denying that we have successfully achieved our goal in making a melee a tool that the players willingly engage in. Well, we're only willingly engaging in it, not because it's fun or good, but because you have to use it. It's gone past being relevant, and it's gone to must use. But unsurprisingly, there are some balance changes we have identified to help bring a higher degree of risk-reward. The bulk of the tuning focuses towards two areas of the attack: the lunge and the post-attack cooldown. The lunge is enabled by a small area in front of the player. When a valid enemy is within the space and the melee input is pressed, the attacker will close the remaining distance. The hit timing is the same as it's always been, 0.26 seconds. We shipped the game with a tuning that put this range just outside the Nasher Gib range. That line where the Nasher becomes a one-shot Gib rather than a two-shot down. This meant that when attacking a Nasher player with melee, meant that you would necessarily be outright killed since the attack hadn't crossed that line. We intended to put both players in relatively similar positions where the next shot would respectively kill. This has had an unintended effect on the larger risk and reward ratio of the melee. Simply put, it's too easy to land a melee hit, so we have reduced this. Lunge target range reduced by 30%. Lunge target angle reduced by 35%. Lunge attack rotation speed reduced by 30%. This narrows the target area down. This puts valid target area to well within Nasher Gib range and also forces the attacker to have to be more accurate when facing their initiate melee. So basically what they're saying is, so far, is previously you couldn't melee in Gears. Previously, I know I was kind of butchering that reading there, but there was a lot of weird terms. So previously you couldn't really melee, right? You had to be in someone's face, and when you were in somebody's face, you got shot when you meleeed, or you got stunned, right? That was what's happened in Gears 1. If you go for the swing and miss, you get stunned, or you don't connect because there's no lunge. And that's why melee hasn't been prevalent and common. Now, in Gears 5, the reason it's common is because you can do a massive lunge. So they've reduced that range of that lunge, meaning that now to get the lunge to sort of begin, you need to be in one-shot Gib range, right? But there's also like a sort of knock-on effect that not always you are always in that one-shot Gib range then to activate the lunge, but that one-shot Gib range means like you can sort of lunge around a corner because technically you're still in the Gib range, but it starts doing these weird like crazy lunges that you've seen. I just don't see a reason to have the lunge, like full stop, because now again, like I'm basing it off their points. They're saying, well, now to be in melee range you need to be in one-shot range. So if you can be one-shot when, that's how close you have to get to start the melee, you literally can be one-shot. why even have a lunge then? Because it makes no difference if the player's lunging or not. They're always in one-shot range now. So just get rid of the lunge full stop. I think it's that they can't get rid of it, personally. Right. This puts blah, 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 blah. Melee PSA. If a victim evades or slides into cover after a melee attack has been started against them, the connection is immediately broken and the lunge stops. They can still be hit by a natural knife swing if close enough. So if somebody starts to lunge and you slide and evade it, their lunge will be cancelled, which sounds great. But as a cynic, do I think that the net code and the game is smooth enough for me to be able to dodge melee lunges on certain connections? Probably not. So let's move on to the cooldown. As players reactivate the melee after hit or miss was slightly reduced compared to Gears of War. This was done so the Nasher 1v1 described as above allowed similar recovery time for both shotgun and melee attack. We've increased this. So the post-melee attack cooldown has been increased by 25%. This puts the recovery time squarely back to what it was, 1.25. This means that the victim of a non-lethal melee attack has all the advantages in responding. The attacker cannot do a lethal action, ranged or melee, until that time is up. Right. So does that mean shooting as well? So the recovery time, this sounds good. I'll give him this. This sounds like if you melee... They're missing something here though, aren't they? This sounds brilliant. That the melee, if you melee, you can't shoot for 1.25 seconds. You're locked out, right? What about the other way around? Because that's not the problem. The problem isn't that people are two-piecing. That's not the problem at all. The problem is that people are going shoot first. So they shoot, right? And then because both players shoot, one of them is, or both of them are going to be full red. When both of them are full red, there's a cadence to the gun. A certain amount of time you have to wait before you can shoot again. Now, it's quicker to melee than it is to wait for that second shot. So what ends up happening is when you get into a shotgun fight, you go shoot melee, shoot melee, shoot melee, because it's just so much quicker and safer to do it, basically. I'm sure you've seen like Pro League gameplay. There's a lot of meleeing goes on, and it's because when you're in a 1v1 or a 2v1, if you land a first big shot, it's way, way safer to melee him down than it is to risk waiting for that second shotgun shell. So that sounds like they haven't fixed that. Conclusion. We acknowledge there is other areas around the melee that people want to address. Oh, here we go. Specifically, I'm like answering my own questions. I'm like on the ball. Specifically about how quickly a player can melee attack after firing a ranged weapon. We are looking into this, but any changes here are much more involved and will take longer. Should we decide to act? Okay, so as a change out of 10, I'm going to give it a 6. A 6 out of 10. 6.1. The reason is, yeah, reducing the lunge, the angle, and the speed is great. But I don't think it's going to really stop anybody meleeing. You'll still be able to land melees a lot easier than in previous games, so it's still easier to melee in this game than it is in previous games. It's also just yeah, it's just easier to land, really, isn't it, than previous games? There's not much else to say there. So yeah, they've nerfed it, but it's still easier. And yeah, there's a cooldown, but the main issue for me is shoot melee, and that hasn't been fixed. So we'll test that, we'll see how that plays out, but not too sure in that one. Alright, ranked matchmaking updates. As mentioned last week, our ranked reset will now be releasing Wednesday, November the 13th, to allow us a bit more time to change. You can read about it more here. Let's see, I think we've already read this. Yeah, we've already read this. There's a video on my channel. Versus, so basically, just to touch on that if you want a comment, is I have no faith in this system. I don't think they're going to fix it. I would be surprised. Hopefully I'm wrong. Versus playlist Arcade Legacy. Arcade Legacy is the arcade you know and love, but have exclusively on the 5 maps from Gears of War 4 in Gears of War 5. So there are new maps been added, but they've been put in arcade and not the main game. Am I understanding that correctly? That seems pretty poor. Escape. New escape mode if you want to do that. One sec, my dog's choking. Weekly store items. Here we go. Cardboard shepherd skin. Cardboard weapon skin. Wind flare. Animated wind flare Nasher skin. And a mark. I don't really like to promote skins on this channel, so I don't really show them. Do we not get weekly supply? Don't forget, next Tuesday we'll see a brand new collection of content available in this store. So that's it, really. Sorry I kind of went way too long on the melee, but I think, judging by it, yeah, this was the melee patch. Well, how do I give this rating as an update? I gave the melee a 6.1 out of 10. If I factor in the fact for me there was really not much else in this set of patch notes, I have to knock it down at least 2 points because there's really nothing in here. It's going to have to be like I'm going to be fair, I'm going to say 4.6 out of 10. Like, yeah, there's a new hive, there's a bit of a boost, there's double XP for escape, there's, you know, there's some things going on there, but there's not really much there, to be honest. Really, there's just a big melee change that I think misses the mark completely. So there we have it. That was What's Up, November the 11th, 2019. Let me know in the comments below what your thinking is on this patch note. And let me know if there's anything you'd like me to try ask a developer. I can try do that in my spare time and get some feedback or something. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And as well, just wanted to say again, thanks to everyone supporting. Whoever's supported through contributions, likes, comments, anything. It just goes a long, long way. Just on a personal note, just to end, this has been a really, really, good, 2 weeks for me. So I really do appreciate everyone that's supporting. So yeah, hopefully it continues. We'll see how far I take this, and I guess you take this sort of content, sort of relationship we've got going on here. I don't know how long I'm going to play Gears 5 for. I don't know how long I'm going to continue this or whatever. That's why I would never do a Patreon, because I would never like to ask for a Patreon and then ditch. I always like to make the content first and then say if you've enjoyed that content, support. I think that's fairer. But I don't know how long I'm going to stick with Gears 5. The updates to me seem to be drying up. I think that's fair to say, right? There seems to be a little bit less and less. I feel like Tour of Duty 2 has to save the game. It's like, it's big. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Let's wrap the video up.